Everyone. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Great. October is already flying by, but it is what it is. This year has been a blur. Thanks for making time to be here. First of all, I want to welcome and recognize if we have any members of the public who are on with us. I can't tell from the initials that I'm seeing on the screen, but if we do, and if there's any public comment, please let us know. You can put a note in the chat or raise your hand. I think we'll see you that way. Thank you. Okay, did everyone see and get a chance to review the minutes from September?
Yes.
Any corrections or additions to those we need to make?
I thought they were very well done as usual, so I will make the motion to approve of the minutes.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
I'll second.
Was that Donna?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Amy, how do you vote?
Approve. Yes.
Greg, how do you vote?
I vote approve.
Carol, how do you vote?
Approve.
Michael, how do you vote? Is that approved?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Donna, you seconded.
Yeah.
And Sharon, how do you vote?
Approve.
Joshua, how do you vote?
Approved.
Cynthia? Not in attendance. Kim, how do you vote?
Approve.
All right. We are unanimous. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks all. First up on our agenda, we have Frederick Haith, who is an engineer with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And he's going to talk with us about just some general information, I think, about their department and funding and a survey that is currently out for public input. Frederick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time, and it was short notice, so we're glad you were able to be here. I'm going to mute. Do you need anything? Are you screen sharing or?
I will when you prompt me.
Okay.
Is it time?
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you. My name is Fred Haith. I'm a planning engineer with NCDOT Division 9, and I'm going to talk about the STIP, the State Transportation Improvement Program, and where we are in its current development cycle. The State Transportation Improvement Program, or STIP, is the North Carolina Department of Transportation's guide that shows how and when transportation projects are expected to be funded over the next 10 years. Strategic prioritization is our transparent, data-driven process for prioritizing projects. The next step covers the time frames between 2024 and 2033. As many of you may know, the draft STIP, the draft 2433 STIP, was developed under unique circumstances. Rising material and labor costs have had a significant impact on our projects. In response to this, staff has reviewed and updated cost estimates and found the current STIP to be overprogrammed in every category. I want to point out, I would like to point out that this is not a cash balance issue. It's a programming issue due to cost escalation. This led the prioritization work group, which includes NCDOT staff, our state and local regional planning partners, to recommend foregoing the prioritization 6.0 process. The Board of Transportation agreed or concurred with this decision. Going forward, the 2433 STIP will only contain projects from previous rounds of prioritization that were included in the 2029 STIP. No new projects. Due to the issues that I mentioned before, the new STIP will be developed using projects that were not selected for funding from previous rounds. In May, we released an initial draft STIP, and it was out for public review. Shortly after the release of the draft STIP, we received additional revenue. The bipartisan infrastructure law Congress passed in November of 2021, and the budget Governor Cooper signed into law in July of 2022 provided additional resources. While the additional funding sources did not offset all of the cost increases that led to the proposed changes in the draft 2433 STIP, they do significantly help lessen the impact of those issues. Here's a snapshot of the new STIP. One of the benefits of this iteration or this development cycle is that we have a new format for the draft STIP. In the past, it was a stagnant PDF document. It was somewhat cumbersome to navigate. This is an Excel spreadsheet. Most people, well, I wouldn't say most people, but Excel provides an easier source to obtain the information that you desire. There are drop-down menus. You can sort by county. You can sort by project type, etc. Draft STIP schedule. Right now, we're in the public comment period. And if all goes well, we should have a approved STIP in the spring of 2023. I'm going to try this. Hopefully these links work. They worked before the meeting, so they should work now. All right. Comprehensive transportation plans. Plans or studies, comprehensive transportation plans. This is where most projects begin. The CTP, if you will, for short, Comprehensive Transportation Plan, is an MPO product. It's something that MPO staff produces. It contains basically a wish list or a vision for the municipality, the MPO, the surrounding area. This is our NCDOT's one-stop shop for all the CTPs in the state, but each MPO has a website that they maintain containing all of their planning studies and documents. And my apologies, you couldn't see that screen, could you? So this is the first link. It's the CTP website. It's a drop-down menu right here. You can scroll, find your county, hit search, and here is Winston-Salem CTP, along with Kelly's contact information and your NCDOT coordinator. Or like I mentioned earlier, you can go and navigate the MPO website to obtain this information. All right. Here's another useful website. It's NCDOT's STIP website. It's a one-stop shop for basically all of your STIP needs. You can learn more about the STIP, highlights, project maps, resources, frequently asked questions. And then here's your STIP development timeline for the 2433 STIP, how you can get involved, more resources, and news releases. Very useful map. I use this map quite often. It's the current STIP, so if you want to see what's planned at the moment, what's been funded and vetted, this map makes it easy to navigate and find exactly what you need. And then here's our 2024-2033 STIP development website, complete with the development timeline that I showed earlier, and the draft STIP, the document that I mentioned that is now in Excel format. As I mentioned before, we can sort by just about everything imaginable. And then scroll at your leisure. So hopefully that makes it easier to find exactly what you are looking for. I know it's easier for me. It took roughly 10 years to get used to the old format, so I'm sort of sad to see it go, but progress is for the better. And then last but not least, prioritization resources. If you want to understand how the projects are vetted, the criteria, things of that nature, this webpage is very helpful. Also included on the prioritization webpage are webinars from previous training sessions, meetings such as this. Most of these meetings were conducted by the prioritization staff themselves, the people who manage the program. So at some point in time, if you would like more information, more in-depth information, please check out the numerous recorded webinars. And then finally, how you get involved. This entire month is the department's public involvement month for the STIP. So you have until October 28th to send in your comments. We've made it easier for you this year. There's an interactive survey, which is basically a comment form. You can compile your comments as a group, as a committee, and submit them via this website. You could submit them to me. You could submit them via your NPO, and Kelly would disperse the information. We're just trying to make it easier, and you have until the 28th to do so. Once we receive all comments, they will be reviewed by staff. They'll be reviewed by your elected officials, and a thoughtful response will be disseminated back to each comment submitter. So oftentimes people think that the comments fall on deaf ears. They don't. I can speak from experience. I've actually shown comments to the Winston-Salem TAC and others, so I know that the comments reach their hands. They take a look at them and they take them into consideration as they make their decisions going forward.
Brad, this is Amy. Just quick clarifying question around that. So the comments are compiled, they're brought before people. How do they actually go into the decision making? Because it's my understanding STIP was meant to be more of a quantitative, data-driven approach, numbers, yada, yada, yada. So how does the comment or a large amount of comments actually play into the decision making on what is approved? Or is it more just like, oh, they know this is a this is a popular project, or this is something someone has a big concern about, and then that just fuels the other elements of executing on the project if it's approved? Or does it actually have a weight on if something is approved or not? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
It's really a project by project situation. For example, today we have a meeting in Greensboro to discuss projects within the High Point MPO. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, the comment period had ended the previous month. We would take all of those comments, compile them, sort them, clean them up, and then we would take them to this meeting and have a discussion as we go down the list of projects that are of major concern. For example, in the past, I believe there have been projects that have had a lot of public attention. The public has disseminated their comments in multiple forums, TACs, submitting multiple comments, reports and studies. And I've seen in the past where the public outcry was so strong that the project was reconsidered or put on pause until we can sort out the issues that the public has had with those projects. Hopefully that answers your question. The main point I want to emphasize is that your decision makers, your elected officials, your engineers, they see the comments. And yes, the SPOT process is data-driven, but we take the local concerns into consideration. There are parameters built into the prioritization process that allows for local input, specifically local input points. So yes, there's a data-driven approach to it, but there's also a, how can I put this, a local comfort level. We want the locals to feel comfortable with the decisions that we are making on their behalf and in conjunction with their comments and concerns and participation.
Yep, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
And having said that, it would really benefit me. We could sit here for hours and ask questions. I could attempt to answer them, but it would really be beneficial to me, mainly because last week was our Division 9's Public Involvement Week, and I was here from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and no one paid me a visit. So if you have any comments, I would really appreciate it, because I will count those as comments received during our Public Involvement Month, if you will, and I'll submit them as comments received during Division 9's period, if you will.
Absolutely. We can also see that the link is in the chat, and we can also send out the survey link to all of our committee members to make sure that they participate in that, and we can share it publicly as well, correct? You want this spread, like we can share it on social media or anywhere?
Yes, ma'am. It should be already out there, but yes, the more advertisement we can get, the better.
Right.
By all means, share it wherever you're and however you see fit.
Excellent.
Hi, this is Amy again.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had a quick question about the spreadsheet. I just opened it up. There's a tab for full draft STIP, and then there's two different tabs related to swaps. Can you explain what the swaps mean?
Yes.
It says projects eligible for swaps, and then another tab that just says swap projects schedule compare.
As I mentioned before, the STIP was developed during under unique circumstances. So NCDOT, we wanted to provide some flexibility. If by chance there was a project that was of major concern that did not make its way into the 10-year STIP, we wanted to give the locals an opportunity to swap those in and out. There are parameters surrounding the swap. The two major parameters that I've noticed as a not so much a roadblock, but an issue that we have to overcome. If we can overcome it, projects swapped in and out, there can only be a 10% difference between the projects. So oftentimes you'll see that the projects that are in the eligible for swap category, they're either the costs are way too low or they're way too high to be swapped in for any other project. On top of that, for example, you might not find that it's a one-to-one situation. For example, let's say Winston-Salem, they love all of their projects that are in the STIP, but there was one project that they just wished was included in the STIP. Well, the problem you're going to run into is now you have to swap that Winston-Salem project for a Village of Clemens project or a Walkertown project, and conversations need to be had. Does that explain the swap tab?
Yeah, and I see there's more data listed in that first explanation tab, but it's good to get your insight. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Fred on this process or how we can engage?
Well, I hate to be the only one talking today, so sorry. So Fred did mention that the actual BPAC as a committee could present our support or concerns or whatever. I know that we're up against, it's already the 12th, the deadline's the 28th, but is that something this committee would want to take on to just review the list and see if there's anything that, I mean, in one way, if we just say as a committee, we've reviewed it and we love it, I think that's helpful insight. Even if we don't have anything super robust to say, if we just say we do as a citizen-led group buy into this is good, I think that would be helpful. If there is something in particular with questions or issues or concerns about, then that would also obviously be insightful. But just wanting to see if others on the committee are interested or chair, co-chair, that's something that we want to try to pull together quickly or just focus on individual survey responses.
Kelly, if you want to interject and add anything to that, please do. From Matthew, just a brief conversation with him. Our goal was to share this with individual committee members and to have the committee share it publicly. As Fred said, just to provide the input that they're looking for from public comment, and the more the better. But I certainly think, and Kelly, again, correct me if I'm wrong, the projects that are under the Winston-Salem MPO are sort of funded and set. So it is not likely that anything in Winston-Salem is going to change significantly right now. But I think in the future, certainly as things come up, we should engage and review as a committee and provide comment as a committee.
Yes, ma'am. So you are correct. But it is also still up to you guys if you want to put together a response or a comment as a committee. That's good too. That's just that's not a bad thing to provide some comments, even if there are some things that you don't particularly like and you have a reason why you don't particularly like them. It's something good for the elected officials and people that make decisions to see and to know whether or not it sways the outcome of the project. I'm not sure that will at this stage, depending on how much, if somebody in a specific neighborhood is completely outraged about this sidewalk and they really don't want it, that may, but like I said, I don't know to what extent that will at this point. But yes, also for future iterations of prioritization, we're going to start the next round think sometime next year. And so that's also a very good time to get involved. When that starts, I will make sure to that Matthew informs the committee that's starting and where you can get involved at the, because we advertise our list of projects even before we seek TAC approval for them. So when people submit projects, whether it's the city of Winston-Salem or other municipalities, we put together a list of those projects and we advertise them to the public. These are the projects that we want to submit for prioritization. So you can get involved even at the very beginning of the process as well. So, but yes,
Great.
advertising it and sharing it on your social media is also a very good way to help us inform the public. And I always say it's good to get involved in these projects before dirt starts moving, because at that point you can't do anything.
Right, right. I think Carol and I both had taken the survey, and you can sort it several different ways. So you can look at it. It has a key, and you can look at pedestrian related things. You can look at, you can choose to look only at swap projects. And of course, the map is the whole state, so you can look by your county, or you can look at the entire state of North Carolina. There's a ton of information on there. And if you participated in the Walkable Winston-Salem survey, where you could click on an icon on the map and add a comment through that, it's very similar. So you can click on, I'm trying to think of like a sidewalk project, and then add a link about, you know, things you've witnessed or experienced, or add a comment about things you've witnessed or experienced in that specific location and why that's important, or other information that you want to share.
Sharon, this is Greg. I'm going to review the lists. I usually do that anyway because I'm kind of a nerd in that regard, but and just for my own interests, and since I've been involved with that for 30 plus years, and always interested in how projects are moving along and advanced, and what are new projects and so forth. But at least on the bike and ped side, I think it would be, I'm certainly going to make comments regarding that, but I think it would be helpful as a committee to possibly have a secondary Zoom call and just go over the proposed projects in the STIP, and just to confirm, if nothing else, just to know what's in there, and secondarily just to confirm that those are our priorities. And if not, then we develop a joint comment sheet or form or letter, and then submit that back through Kelly or directly to Fred. But I think it would be helpful to, and it may not even take that long, because we might just go right down the list. Yeah, that makes sense. That's what we want, you know, so forth and so on. But project boundaries and limits and funding schedules and so forth, the timing of it. I think it would be helpful as a committee to have maybe a secondary Zoom meeting with our committee and talk about, go over the projects, I guess. So I'm proposing that. You know, if there's not an interest in that, then, you know, I'll probably just do it independently anyway. But I just thought that might be something we would want to consider.
I like that idea. Thank you, Greg. I'd be interested, even if it's just the two of us.
So how about we leave that as a volunteer? If you're interested, then please connect with Greg and schedule time to do that. if you want to review these. And again, there's not a call for projects. The current Winston-Salem MPO projects are those that came from the Walkable Winston-Salem and the bike plan recommendations that we went through last year. But I certainly agree, when there's a call for projects and we're reviewing new things, we need to be involved on the beginning side of that. Greg, does everyone have contact information so that you can reach out to committee members individually? You know how to find that. Okay.
Greg, I'm happy to participate with you.
Is that Carol? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Fred? We can free him up to.
Fred, when we found out about the survey, I think it was already halfway through September. Is there a way to get the information out earlier so that people are informed and maybe we get higher levels of participation? I'm sorry, my throat is acting up today.
A way to receive the information earlier, ma'am?
Yes.
Was that the question?
Yeah, especially like your drop-in sessions where you said no one came by. I think that it had already started before I was even aware of it, and then I couldn't make it to drop in. But I just wondered if that information could be released to the public earlier. And maybe there is a way to know that, and I'm just not aware of it.
The information was disseminated to your MPO staff throughout the state. And I guess the assumption was they would spread the word. We also, I believe, advertised in numerous different avenues, newspapers, radio, etc. But in the future, I could make a more concentrated effort to reach out to committees within the division as well as MPO staff, if that would be helpful.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the roles this committee can play to support that, Fred, is to liaison and advocate on your behalf and engage the public. We don't have our own social media, but we can cross-post on our individual pages and or comment on information as it's shared on the DOT site or on the city pages to just help spread word that much further.
Yes, ma'am. I will take all of this into consideration and pass the message forward. Well, if there are no further questions, I am going to turn the controls back over to Hunter.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for joining us on short notice and sharing this information. We really appreciate having you.
No problem. Happy to do so.
All right. Have a great day.
You do the same.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that Kelly might be able to answer, or anything else? I'll send there's a flyer that has a clickable link on it, and I will share that with all the committee members. I've got it pulled up ready to go, so I'll get that out as soon as we wrap up here.
And Sharon, with the work group coming together to do an overview of the project list, would it be okay for the committee then to write a recommendation that could go to Kelly or City Council or wherever it would go.
We can. I think when you look at that list, the swaps that they're looking at are major are highway projects, and for the most part, they are not in Winston-Salem. So the projects that we have looked at, sidewalk, bike projects, greenway things, are set. So that Salem Parkway, the Martin Luther King Streetscape is on there. You'll see our projects are not up for swap. There are some other highway construction projects that are on that swap list. But certainly if you see anything that stands out there that's relevant directly to Winston-Salem, then we would absolutely do that. So as he said, they're not doing a new call for projects right now. They're trying to backfill some unfunded or underfunded things that came up as gaps because of increased cost in materials. So things that were slated to happen, but the majority of those are major highway builds. And then there has been new dollars that have come in through the infrastructure funding that they are looking at these swap projects through that lens. But again, the majority of those are major highway construction projects that are in other areas of the state. So yes, absolutely. If there's something that comes up from this that we need to speak to, we would do that. And that's probably more of a future thing than an immediate thing. But if there's anything that stands out to you, then absolutely we would want to put our committee voice to that. I have to say, I was really surprised to hear them say that they respond to individual comments. And I'm not sure how they have the staffing power to do that, but I'm very glad to hear that they do compile those and share them with the MPOs and municipalities where those comments are located. Any other questions on that?
I was going to say the MPOs used to, and maybe Kelly could respond to this, but MPOs used to have their own local TIP or MTIP, as they call it, Metropolitan TIP. That was the local TIP, if you will, and had its own sort of separate process of public participation, and oftentimes would respond to comments on an individual basis. And I know the state listens to all the comments and will respond to, but at least there used to be a separate process that the MPOs would do prior to NCDOT and the Board of Transportation adopting the TIP,
is now exiting.
the statewide STIP. And so I don't know if that is taking place or has taken place, but there that was the format and the process that we used to go through. So I don't know if that has occurred or not in September or not.
That has not yet occurred, so it's still to be scheduled. It's still the case. So the MPO will also share our Metropolitan Transportation Investment. It's the same document. It's just a subset for our specific MPO to be able to look at. So it will be the same step as the one you look at. It will just be filtered down, zoomed in to our MPO, and given our MPO the opportunity to respond. So yes, the process will be the same, Greg.
Yeah. Do you know when you're going to do that then, Kelly? when the
I
schedule?
don't have a date yet. I should have a date by next week. We're still working through that. We have several public meetings going on this month, and it's not wanting to put too much out on for the public to review and then not get anything back or have people being confused. So we're working on that.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Kelly.
Great. Any other questions, comments on that? Okay, thanks, Kelly. The next thing on the agenda was our future meeting date and time. This has been, it's been really difficult to come up with a time that works for everyone most of the time. But as of right now, the fourth Thursdays at 9 a.m. Looks like our best option. And there's still one or two people that won't be able to make it all the time, but that's true no matter what we choose. So we'll go with where we've gotten the majority commitment and availability. So 4 Thursdays at 9 a.m. and we will start that in November. We won't start that in November because that will be Thanksgiving, and as much as I enjoy this, I will be doing other things that day. That will also probably fall on Christmas.
The 22nd of December.
Wouldn't you know? Okay, we might go back to the drawing board because that will be an annual issue. I think the other, let me look at that form real quick.
Well, Sharon, can you remind me at least as to why we needed to change the date and maybe the time of the meeting? It looks like we still, right now, we have a quorum of 7 or 8 people, but.
Yeah, and you know, Greg, you that may be the right question to go back and ask, because the one of the biggest issues was going to be Matthew's participation in Leadership Winston-Salem. We have a couple of people who have alternating conflicts on this date, but for the most part, you are correct. This does work for everyone. And I assume it's okay to share that Matthew has taken a new role, and so there will be a new bicycle liaison at some point in time, and so that also eliminates Matthew's conflict. Just with a loose showing of hands right now, this time does seem to work. Are we okay with continuing this date and time?
I am.
I am.
Okay, let's not mess things up then any further. Sorry about all of that. We had discussed those conflicts before Matthew's promotion, and I think that that is probably the safest and smartest thing to do, is just leave things alone.
Well, let me ask a follow-up question then.
Mhm.
Matthew's participation in Leadership Winston-Salem, what hours or how much time does that involve on the 3rd Wednesday of the month, I guess?
Or all day. It's an all-day commitment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a couple hours or whether it was an all-day thing. Okay. All
It
right.
is.
So moving it back an hour or 2 hours is not really an option for the 3rd Wednesday of the month then, so.
No, and then we run into other conflicts. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's obviously the simplest and smartest thing to do. Thanks for bearing with us on all of that. It was a good thought.
Well, is Matthew would Matthew continue on since he received a promotion and maybe has some new responsibilities, working with Kelly and the staff there? Would he be participating, even though he may not be the direct staff liaison? Would the new bicycle and pedestrian planner and Matthew both participate, or would it just be the new bike and ped planner then?
So the way that we've talked about it is that the new bicycle and pedestrian coordinator would be your liaison, but he would still work with Matthew closely. And to some extent, Matthew will probably still be involved with you, Sharon, and Carol with your meetings that you do before the meeting and all that. But your number one point of contact as far as the group would be the new person. And eventually, I think as we train whomever the new person will be, Matthew will kind of be a little bit more in the background.
Okay. So Matthew's availability is eventually will not be as critical, I guess.
Yes.
It'll be pretty much handed over to the new individual. And
yes,
in theory, I guess that person may or may not be available on the second Wednesdays of the month. I assume that maybe they would be, but maybe not. So, okay.
Yeah, I would think it would be part of their role, right? Yeah. Yep. Okay. And I know you have no timeline, but are you hoping to fill that by the end of the year, or?
Yeah, well, we have the position is advertised right now,
Okay.
So we're waiting now. So Greg, if you want to share that with your network of planners and you know, if you know any planners, you can share that too. It's on the city's website. That's the project planner position.
Can I
Transportation
reapply?
project planner. Huh?
Can I reapply for a job?
I don't think so, Greg.
No? Oh, okay.
I don't think you're eligible to apply.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think you already touched your retirement. You can't come back.
Okay, you're right. I am too involved in retirement here, so you're right. Too involved and too bought into it. But on a serious question, the pardon me, Sharon, the other folks that have intermittent scheduling problems, do we know the times of those? I mean, would it be helpful if we moved it back an hour, like to 10 o'clock, or for the other folks that may not be able to meet on our time, our regular time, that can't regularly attend? Is it like a particular hour or something that's a conflict for them?
I think if we move it, we end up with conflicts with other conflicts. So
Okay.
I think based on the feedback we've gotten from emails and then from the 2 surveys that we've sent out, I think the 9 a.m. on this Wednesday seems to be our best bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll hush up now. Thank you.
No, you helped us sort that out, so appreciate it.
Sharon, at one point we also talked about quarterly or just a couple of times a year also going in person. Is that still something that's being evaluated, maybe even just for next year, to start next year?
It is. In fact, October would have been our in-person date, and due to just lots of things going on, we weren't able to pull that together. But our goal, the thought was to do this in November, and we really need to have we really do need to do that and make it sort of a planning retreat, and to go into and look at our work plan, or create a new work plan, look at priorities for the coming 2 years. We had several committee members who were up, whose terms had ended and they have been extended for a second term. We will have one committee member who will need to be replaced. So ideally, the thought was to sort of launch this next term in November with a longer meeting and do some planning around that. And I would still like to do that. I think scheduling is going to be the biggest issue. And I think, go ahead.
Does that have to be in addition to our already scheduled November meeting? If we did the second Wednesday, if we just use that time slot, maybe extended it a little bit, because it seems like we have a lot to cover.
We would keep it on our same time slot. And we had talked about using the Salem Lake Marina, but we also could go back to City Hall where we met previously. That was just as easy as well. So I would like to do that.
Well, Sharon, can we take a quick poll with those that are attending to see if November would work for them to do an extended meeting?
Yeah, just a quick show of hands if all would be potentially available on that. Thanks, Michael. Greg, you good, Amy?
I
know
yeah.
you haven't. Okay.
Yeah, I was just, it's the day after election. I shouldn't be working the poll, but if I was, it was going to be a long day.
Yeah.
But even if I am, I can make it work. And that's on the 9th, right? November 9th, we're talking. Yep.
I'm good.
Okay. We will plan on that. There are a few, like Matthew was going to do an extended project update. He would not be available that day, but we'll figure that out and figure out a way for, I don't know if you would be able to do that, Kelly, or someone else, but to do some updates on some of the projects we've talked about, some of the questions that have come up in recent meetings, and then again, come up with a new work plan for the committee that we would vote on and approve and use as a guide over the next 2 years. And if you think of things that you'd like to specifically add or consider for that agenda, please email me and Carol so that we can incorporate those. And if you're not able to stay the whole time, understandable, but hopefully we can all make that work, and at least an hour and a half, possibly 2 hours for that.
Sharon, I'm thinking that some of the new committee members may not have a copy of the original work plan. It might be good if we can distribute that to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
They can look at what was planned and
We would, yep.
Use that as a foundation for building the new one.
Yeah, and similarly, if there are documents or items that you'd like to review before we come together, I've got a rough list of those, but make sure you send a note and ask if there are specific things that have been referenced that you no longer have or want access to. We'll get those out as well.
Sharon, this is Greg one more time. Got a question of, have we ever developed a notebook of materials that are pertinent to our committee? I guess our priority projects, maps, maybe the TIP, laws, ordinances, plan recommendations, current things, I guess. The thought was that maybe we'd have sort of a notebook or something that would be something that our new members would have, and they could, look at their leisure and get caught up on various things, and that we all sort of start off at the same point of information, I guess, and that we update as we need to, and fill in as we need to. But just a thought as to, because there's a lot of parts to our committee in a way, with greenways, bicycle facilities, sidewalks, other projects that may be multimodal that we want to keep up with. If we're talking about scooters and mopeds and other non-motorized, I guess, vehicles and the ordinances and data, Matthew would share lots of data as far as a number of riders and locations and, just all that sort of stuff. I didn't know if maybe, not a thick notebook, but a moderate sized notebook with some of these things divided out or subbed out a little bit might be helpful for everyone, or particularly our new members. So just wanted to toss that out as an idea. Because if we're gonna also meet every third month or whatever, we could bring the notebooks along and look through stuff, I guess, and not have to rely on computers or screens or electronics, whatever, if we want to discuss things or look up references or whatever. So just a thought. Anyway, I told you I promised I'd shut up, but I can't hold to my promises.
You have good thoughts, Greg. It's good. Appreciate you sharing. Yeah, I think I'm sure there are folks who would appreciate that. I think the issue would be who that would fall to responsibility to create an update and distribution. But it's a good idea. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we add that to our 2023 work plan and figure out who can do it later. Or at least Greg, if you can kind of pull together the listing of things that you think would be good. I mean, maybe then it's just my December should be light, so I might be able to pull some things together or something, but I wouldn't know where to start. So maybe we can talk about that, Greg, when we look at the tip.
I think it's a great idea. I think having a notebook would be a difficult thing for anyone to maintain, but
yeah, maybe
a Word document that has links to all of the items that you suggested, because those things can change and update and move around. And two of our biggest documents is the walkable Winston and the bicycle plan. And they're both like, I don't know,
100 pages,
200 pages long. So to create a notebook for somebody that has those in there.
Well, I can appreciate what you're saying, Carol. I wasn't quite going to that level, but I was thinking that maybe out of those plans, maybe there would be a recommendations section or something. I don't know.
We do need, I think, a consolidated at least list of links in one place that any committee member can get to. And so I think it's a great recommendation. And we'll consider the how and logistics of that and what it actually looks like. But it is definitely a good point.
I'll put together at least off the top of my head what I could envision a notebook to contain, and we can go from there. There's obviously no rush on something like that. It's just like the tip today. You know, we don't have before us the projects, I guess, and hard to respond back in mass when we don't have all the data in front of us. It sort of requires us to look at it individually, and I think it would work better as a committee if we review things together, if you will. So and have the information before us, but
and it may not be a physical notebook, but definitely a listing of
I'm just old school. Kelly knows that. So I'm a paper guy. So I'm a paper and notebook guy, and she knows all the junk I used to hold in my office. It would weigh down the building. The building would start tilting ever so slightly. All the paper stuff I had in my office. So anyway, just wanted to toss that out. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Karen,
Thanks.
along those same lines, maybe for new committee members, we could assign a mentor. So one committee member would kind of welcome in the new committee member and provide them with kind of an oversight of where we've come from, what we're trying to do right now, and what the future looks like. I see Kim shaking her head. Amy had a lot already awareness and knowledge of what's going on, but Kim is probably like me. I'm just a year further into it, but when I came on, it was like standing in front of a fire hydrant and just water just spraying all over me, and I couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I think that's some sort of onboarding process, and is a great idea to do that one-on-one and sort of information handoff.
Yeah. So, Greg, you did spin up a good idea.
Yep. Okay, if you have other thoughts on what we need to discuss or consider for that planning meeting, please email us. And we are at 10:05. Any hot announcements, events coming up that anyone needs to share real quickly?
I guess I wanted to ask Amy about Winston-Salem Can and what was happening with that. Is the organization disbanding, or is it changing format or something? Maybe I misunderstood the email or post that I saw about that, and just wanted to go to the source here. So.
Yeah, thank you. I really wanted to talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. No, basically, sorry. No, it's good. The Winston Cycling Advocacy Network really just came to a point where we lack capacity to move forward. Several of our key leaders just have to move on, and there was not anyone else to fill those vacancies, or even the bandwidth to do a huge search for filling those vacancies. So the board met and discussed it, earlier this year. And determined it was time to just wind down. So that's a nice way of saying we're dissolving the organization at the end of the year. So we did a blog out to the public. We notified our members, and part of the kind of transition is we are working with Michael Hosey of the National Cycling Center and Piedmont Environmental Alliance to kind of transfer some knowledge, our resources, trying to get them to include some of the resources we have on our website on their website, so there's still places people can go to learn about bike routes and blah 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 blah. So they've been really good, and we're going to be continuing that work through the end of the year. PEA is going to be really good on the advocacy front because they have a wider vision and broader scope of work, but they're still very passionate about bicycling and pedestrian stuff. And so they'll kind of be able to do calls to action if there's advocacy opportunities, as will, NCC, as they normally do. But NCC is a little more on the programming side of things. So I think those two organizations will help kind of continue things. But it is sad when things come to a close, but not all nonprofits go on into perpetuity. So that's where we stand today. We'll still keep sharing information through the end of the year, and the website will be up and running. I think the domain's available for paid for another year or so. So we'll keep all that up and running as long as we can. So.
Well, I wanted to say what a great job you have done in being a leader for cycling in Winston-Salem, and you and your husband have been terrific in putting the Winston-Salem CAN together and managing it and putting events together and just the whole thing. I mean, you're to be admired and greatly appreciated for all you've done. And I am a little sad that it's come to a point where you need to move on. And that's the nature of the beast, I guess. And things change over time, and maybe there's new avenues, maybe there's something better will come eventually. Maybe the National Cycling Center can grow and branch out even more and pay you $100,000 a year to work for them. And
yes.
But I wanted to say thank you to you, Amy, and extend my appreciation for all the work you do. A lot of it behind the scenes, a tremendous amount of stuff behind the scenes. And I know you're real active with Creative Corridors with our group, and so just thank you very much, and hang in there, I guess. So.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun journey, and I've met so many amazing people, and I'll continue to be involved. So I'm not disappearing. I just that kind of work and that specific organization will be winding down. So thank you, Greg. Thanks for bringing it up. It's good to get it out there.
I second that motion.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Sharon, if I may, real quickly, I had two items to share with the group. The Long Ranch Trail extension, the study that we're doing a public meeting for that. That's next Thursday. Can't remember the time, but I will make sure you get it's in the evening. It's on.
Okay.
It will be live on YouTube and also on Zoom, so you can participate either way that you choose. It will be advertised on Facebook. As soon as I see that on our Facebook, I'll make sure you guys know, so you can also share it on your social media platforms to help get the word out.
Okay.
And then the other thing was the household travel survey. The city posted that on their Facebook this morning. If you will share that with the public, just to the main focus at this point, I guess, is rather than having everybody participate, the group decided it would be better to do a sampling of the population, and there will be a mail out. And the point of posting it on social media is so that people will not be scared when they see that come in the mail, that it's some sort of scam. No, it's a real thing for them to participate. There's an incentive attached to it. And so there's a post on social media from the city of Winston-Salem about it, if you wouldn't mind also helping us by spreading the word about the household travel survey. So
Okay.
Those are the two
Got
things.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may, I have one item to share as well. We are introducing a new public comment center to get folks more involved through kind of a different avenue than we typically have gone about doing it for our MPO. We've set up an ArcGIS hub that is more of a survey type of format. In the past, we've typically called for comments through email or through reviewing our public review document and sending in physical mail. So we've recently created this hub. I will share the link here in the chat. And it allows people to view all of the documents that will be up for action by the Transportation Advisory Committee at the upcoming meeting, and gives them a really quick way to fill out a survey. They can select which document they want to. There's also the option to select multiple and send us our comments that way. And then finally, I wanted to highlight that the same survey map that Fred shared with you all today is also embedded on the site for now. This will go live officially tomorrow with our new October 13th through November 15th public review period. So if any of you can help me share that, that would be much appreciated. Thanks.
Okay, great. That's good to have that all in one place. If we could get that link, I will pass that along as well.
Heather,
Okay.
is that the public meeting that I saw advertised for tomorrow night?
This is a slightly different one, but that website does also contain information on the congestion management process meeting that we're holding tomorrow. For anyone who's interested, that is essentially a friendly update to the existing congestion management process. Our group received feedback from Federal Highway Administration, and so we made some modifications. But we are opening it up for public review. We're happy to take any questions that you have on it, and that'll be at Bryce Stewart from 5 to 7 p.m. tomorrow night at the second floor conference room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We have run over, and I know a few people have dropped off. Appreciate all of your time and look for more information about November coming in your emails.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.
To you.